Chosen one. This message is the confirmation you've been waiting for. Not just a word of comfort, but a divine revelation hidden in plain sight. Something happened in the spirit, and while you were still trying to figure it all out, heaven stood and clapped. Yes, while you were battling doubt, pressing forward, staying silent in your storm, something you did touched the heart of God. And even though no one on earth may have noticed, heaven did. You didn't realize it when you forgave them without an apology. You didn't see it when you gave out of lack. You didn't understand it when you stayed in the fight, even when your heart was tired. But that moment, that one small act of obedience, it echoed in heaven. You moved angels with your consistency. You drew God's smile with your surrender. And without fanfare, without applause, you caused heaven to erupt in holy celebration. This isn't about perfection, it's about posture. The posture of your heart, the way you chose God over bitterness, the way you whispered prayers no one heard, the way you obeyed when it would have been easier to walk away. That's what heaven responds to. That's what made God clap. And now He's confirming it to you. You're on the right path. Keep going. Don't stop now. Your breakthrough is not far behind the applause. Before we go any further, if this message is stirring something deep within you, take a moment to like this video. If you felt God drawing you closer in this season, hit subscribe and stay connected. And don't stay silent. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. Let's watch the remnant rise from every corner of the earth. To every faithful giver using the link pinned in the comment section or super thanks feature, your offering is more than generosity. It's spiritual agreement. You're not just sowing money, you're sowing surrender. You're saying, God, I align with your will. And because of that, expect the covering of heaven, supernatural clarity, and the strength to walk boldly through whatever comes next. Let me take your hand like a teacher walking with a newborn child and explain this slowly, step by step, so that your mind will awaken and your soul will burn with divine fire. We must begin by breaking down this mystery. What is heaven clapping? It's not the same as a crowd cheering. It's not just a sound. It is a spiritual reaction from the realm of God that signals heaven's recognition of something you did, approval from the throne room, divine response to an action of obedience or faith you took, even when no one else knew. It is God's invisible applause for a decision that may have cost you everything, but pleased Him deeply. Let's simplify it even further. When you were a child, maybe your mother clapped for you when you took your first step. You didn't understand why she clapped, but she saw progress. That moment was never about perfection. It was about movement. And when God sees you take one step out of disobedience, one step into trust, one decision that says yes to His will instead of your will, heaven reacts. Not out of pity, but out of pleasure. God is the same. He watches when you take one tiny step toward obedience, purity, holiness, or prayer. He sees when you resist sin. He sees when you choose Him over comfort. And even when you feel nothing, He claps, not with human hands, but with divine authority. That clap releases favor. That clap sends angels into motion. That clap opens doors no man can shut. Heaven clapping is not noise, it's supernatural backup, divine affirmation, and the invisible push that lifts you toward your destiny. Let me ask you this. Have you ever done something powerful, but felt nothing? You prayed hard and it felt empty. You fasted and still no answer. You gave your last seed, but no harvest. You forgave someone, but they didn't even say sorry. You obeyed, and it seemed like God was still silent. So you thought nothing happened. But listen carefully. In the kingdom of God, obedience is never wasted. Just because you didn't feel anything doesn't mean nothing moved. Your emotions are not the measuring stick for divine activity. Heaven's movement is often silent, but strategic. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 11 says, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty." That means when God speaks and you act, something shifts, whether you see it or not. When God tells you to act and you do it, heaven records it. Heaven reacts to it. Heaven releases a response, even when your emotions don't match. And that's where many miss it. They expect thunder, but God responds with quiet power. They expect instant signs, but God answers in delayed revelation. That's why it's called faith, because you obey before the results show up. So let's slow this down. You were looking for applause. God was giving you approval. There's a difference. Applause is loud, emotional, and public. But approval is sacred, powerful, and divine. Heaven's approval doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with a shift in your spirit, a closed door that protected you, or a delay that saved you. When heaven claps, the earth may not echo it, but your destiny will. So don't stop obeying, don't stop sowing, don't stop trusting. Something already moved. You just haven't seen it yet. You may be thinking, what did I do that made heaven clap? Let's break it down like we're teaching the alphabet, not with lofty theology, but with simple truth. There are things you've done, quietly, humbly, and in pain, that triggered a divine response in the unseen realm. While the world overlooked your effort, heaven didn't. The kingdom of God doesn't operate like social media. God doesn't need to like your post to validate your faith. He responds to what's done in obedience, in love, and in secret, and you've done more than you realize. 1. You obeyed. When it hurt, you wanted to retaliate, but you walked away. You wanted to quit, but you kept going. You wanted to sin, but you whispered, "God, help me." That's obedience. And 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 22 reminds us, to obey is better than sacrifice. Heaven doesn't clap for performance, it claps for surrender. Obedience is not about how big the action is, it's about how costly the decision was. When you chose God's will over your will, even in the silence, even when it broke your pride, heaven stood to honor you. 2. You gave when you had nothing. You gave your time when you were exhausted. You gave your heart when it had been broken. You gave your last bit of money when you were unsure how tomorrow would look. Jesus pointed to a poor widow in Mark chapter 12 verse 43 to 44 and said, "This poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others." Why? Because heaven doesn't calculate like earth. God doesn't count what you give, He weighs the cost. And when your giving was laced with sacrifice and trust, heaven clapped. Not because you impressed God, but because you trusted Him enough to give Him everything, even when you had nothing left. 3. You worshipped through the pain. You didn't understand the silence, but you still sang. You didn't feel joy, but you lifted your hands anyway. You wept in worship, but you stayed on your knees. That's not emotion, that's spiritual maturity. Heaven doesn't clap when you feel goosebumps. Heaven claps when your praise comes from a place deeper than your pain. When you worshipped through heartbreak, through confusion, through the storm, it wasn't noise, it was warfare. And your tears, they were incense. That kind of praise shakes the heavens because it's birthed in faith, not in feelings. 4. You chose righteousness in private, when no one saw you, when no one was there to applaud, and when it would have been easier to compromise. But you still did the right thing. That's exactly what Jesus meant in Matthew 6:6, when He said, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." Heaven doesn't need a crowd to respond to your obedience. It doesn't wait for applause to move. All it needs is your faith, steady, quiet, and true. Let's now explain why heaven responds like this. You see, God's kingdom runs on unshakable spiritual laws, just like gravity governs the earth. These laws are not based on feelings, popularity, or visibility. They are based on covenant. When you move in alignment with God's heart, heaven doesn't just applaud out of sympathy. It responds because the laws of the Spirit have been activated. Your obedience, your sacrifice, your quiet faith, these things trigger divine motion even when you don't see it immediately. 1. The law of sowing and reaping. Galatians chapter 6 verse 7. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Every act of obedience is a seed. Every prayer whispered in pain is a seed. Every time you forgave, every time you gave, every time you worshipped while bleeding, you were sowing. And God's word promises that no seed goes unanswered. Heaven is not just reacting emotionally, it is reacting legally. God has bound himself to his word, and when you do right, even through tears, heaven is required by divine justice to honor what was planted. There must be a harvest. 2. The law of hidden honor. Matthew chapter 6 verse 4. Your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. God doesn't need an audience to validate your actions. You may feel invisible, but heaven has surveillance on your soul. Every quiet decision to choose righteousness, every private moment where you turned from temptation, every act of unseen integrity, God saw it. He recorded it, and he scheduled a response. The reward may not show up when you want it, but it is never lost. There is a heavenly system of recognition, and it never misses what man overlooks. 3. The law of divine timing. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. To everything there is a season. There is a time for hidden obedience, and there is a time for divine reward. Your silent sowing was not in vain. Your private tears were not ignored. You clapped in the dark, and now God is clapping for you in the Spirit. Your season of public elevation is connected to your season of private surrender. Just because the calendar didn't change, doesn't mean your season didn't. Divine timing is not delayed, it's strategic. And when the appointed time arrives, what heaven has prepared will break through, and the world will see what God saw all along. Now, let me stir your spirit. Because when heaven claps, it's not just a sound, it's a release. It's a supernatural signal that something has shifted in the unseen realm on your behalf. It's more than affirmation, it's activation. When God responds, he doesn't just pat you on the back, he sets things in motion. The moment heaven claps, divine activity is triggered in ways you may not feel, but will soon begin to see. Something happens in the realm of the Spirit that causes your natural world to start aligning with God's purpose. 1. Angels are dispatched. Psalm chapter 91 verse 11 declares, "He will command his angels concerning you." This isn't poetic language, it's heavenly protocol. Angels are not emotional beings, they are heavenly servants, sent to carry out divine orders. When heaven claps, it often signals that your obedience has activated a new assignment. That unseen act of faith, that quiet prayer, that selfless decision. It has authorized a spiritual escort. Help is being released. Protection is being deployed. Guidance is being sent. You don't see the movement yet, but heaven's military has already been mobilized on your behalf. 2. Atmospheres begin to shift and divine announcements are made. What once felt stagnant will begin to stir. Closed doors begin to creak. Hardened hearts begin to turn. Favor that was delayed starts to find you. This shift isn't always dramatic, but it's deliberate. Just like in the book of Job, where God said, "Have you considered my servant Job? Your name has entered heaven's conversation. Why? Because your quiet righteousness has reached God's ears. When heaven claps, it doesn't stay silent in the courts of glory. Your name is spoken, your case is reviewed. And even though you didn't know it, you've been mentioned in a meeting that can change everything. 3. Divine announcements are made in the book of Job. We catch a glimpse of a powerful truth. Heaven holds meetings, and your name can be on the agenda. Job chapter 1 verse 8 says, "Then the Lord said to Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job?'" Why would God bring Job up? Because Job's private righteousness caught heaven's attention. His integrity, lived out in silence, was echoed in the courts of heaven. That same pattern still happens today. You've been mentioned in places your feet haven't reached yet. You've been acknowledged in realms you can't see, and you didn't even know it, but heaven did. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to slow down. You are standing at the edge of something holy, the next level of purpose, favor, and revelation. Heaven clapped because you passed a test that others didn't even see. But now, you must stay in position. Just like a soldier who completes a mission is honored, so are you. But if that soldier walks off the battlefield too soon, they miss the reward that was already being prepared. Don't let fatigue make you forfeit. Don't let silence make you step back. Your endurance is part of the reward. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9 reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." This is your proper time season, not because of how you feel, but because of what you've survived. Chosen one, your clap was not your harvest, it was your confirmation, a divine signal that God sees you, that heaven has marked you, that the delay was not denial, it was preparation. Stay faithful, stay planted, because your season is no longer approaching, it's shifting, and everything is about to move. Let me say this with fire in my bones. You have been seen. You have been approved. You have been marked. Heaven's applause is not just a moment, it's a movement. It is divine proof that God has taken notice of your heart, your hidden obedience, your midnight prayers, and your quiet sacrifices. And that's exactly why the enemy is attacking you now, not because you're weak, but because he saw the recognition you didn't. He caught a glimpse of the honor being released over your life, and now he's trying to stop what he knows he can't control. Let's go slow. You felt tired, but heaven saw strength. You felt forgotten, but God whispered, "That's my child." You felt unnoticed, but in the spirit, a crown was being set on your head. This is why the pressure increased. This is why the warfare intensified. Because the enemy doesn't wage war against those with no purpose. He fights the recognized, the appointed, the chosen. And make no mistake, you have been recognized. You have been divinely marked. And no demon in hell can erase what heaven has already applauded. Now that you know heaven clapped, what do you do next? First, stay humble. The applause of heaven is not a trophy to display. It's a torch to carry. It comes with responsibility. It means God trusts you with more. So don't let pride creep in. Don't stop seeking. Carry that spiritual momentum with reverence, knowing that the same God who clapped is also watching how you respond. Second, go deeper. This is not the time to relax. It's the time to press in. Pray with greater hunger. Read the word with fresh eyes. Listen for his voice in the stillness. Heaven's applause was not the finish line. It was the starting gun for your next race. And third, expect manifestation. Yes, expect it. Not because you earned it, but because God promised it. It may not show up today. It may not come packaged the way you imagined. But trust this, you will see the reward of your obedience. Psalm chapter 126 verse 5 says, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy." Your tears were not wasted. They were planting something sacred. So lift your head, open your hands. The same heaven that clapped is the same heaven preparing to release. You sowed weeping, but you will reap dancing. It's only a matter of time. Chosen one. Heaven just clapped for you, and you didn't even realize why. But now you do. Now you understand the weight of your obedience, the power of your hidden surrender, and the value of your unseen battles. This wasn't random. This was reward. Now you must move with clarity, boldness, and fire. No more shrinking back. No more second-guessing your worth. Your quiet yes echoed louder in heaven than you'll ever know. What you did in the dark made heaven rise to its feet. Your secret obedience became heaven's celebration. Your hidden warfare birthed divine applause. Your surrender became heaven's song. So never again say, "God doesn't see me." Never again believe the lie that my sacrifice is unnoticed. Heaven saw it. Heaven recorded it. Heaven clapped. Now walk in that divine recognition. Stand tall in your royal identity and live with the unshakable faith that the next move of God in your life has already been set in motion, all because of what you did when no one was watching.